We're starting the next class. Is about John Locke. So we're expecting the presenter to link the philosophy of leadership of John Locke with this subject. So thank you very much. You can start.
Hi everyone. Well, my name is Chinedu. Here to present on John Locke's concept of government. Brief introduction to the concept of government and its importance.
Louder, please, so that we can hear you. I don't have
John Locke as a key figure in political philosophy. Then, who is John Locke? Locke is John Locke's life and background. John Locke was born in 1632. He navigated political upheaval, including the English, spending years in exile. His major work, an essay concerning human understanding, 1690, challenged prevailing ideas, asserting the mind as a tabula rasa. In two Treatises of Government, Treatises of Government is John Locke political work that he wrote based on the concept, protection of individuals' life. So John Locke championed natural rights like right to life, right to property, right to liberty, the social contract, and the right to labor. Profoundly influencing democracy, his contribution extended to education philosophy, religious tolerance, and enlightenment principles, emphasizing empiricism and individual rights. Locke's ideas resonated with later thinkers and influenced political theory, laying the groundwork for democratic principle. He died on 28th of October 1704, leaving a lasting impact on Enlightenment thought. Two Treatises of Government. John Locke, Two Treatises of Government, published in 1690, is a seminal work in political philosophy that significantly influenced Enlightenment thought and modern political theory. The treatise is divided into two parts, each addressing different aspects of political authority and governance. Then the first treatise. The first treatise is refutation of the theory of the divine rights of kings. Locke argues against the idea that political authority is derived from a monarch, divine lineage, or absolute power granted by God. Instead, he asserts that individuals are born with natural rights, including life, liberty, and property, which cannot be arbitrarily taken away by any governing authority. Here, in this first treatise, John Locke argues that the king's power did not come from God or by being born in a royal families. Instead, he asserts that individuals are born with natural rights, including right to life, right to liberty, and right to property, which cannot be taken away by any government any authority. Then the second treatise is the more influential and widely studied part of the work. In it, Locke lays out his theory of the social contract and the principle of a just government. The key concepts include state of nation, that humans are free and equal. Then natural rights, right to life, liberty and property. Social contracts, people agreeing to form a government to protect their rights. Right to labor. In this right to labor, it's all about individuals revolting, or revolting in regards to when the government refused to protect their right, that they have right to overthrow the government. Then limited government. State of nation, equality, natural rights, self-preservation. That people have natural drive for self-preservation, guided by reason and moral law. Transition to civil society. Emphasis on natural rights and individual freedom. Locke's emphasis on the state of nature underscores the foundational principle of natural rights and individual freedom. The concepts serve as a basis for arguing that governments are instituted to protect these inherent rights, and that individuals have the right to resist or overthrow a government that violates these principles. Locke's ideas on this state of nature have significantly influenced the development of modern political thought, particularly in the realms of democracy, individual rights, and the limits of governmental authority. In this slide, John Locke argues that governments are instituted to protect the rights of individuals. An example of these rights are right to preserve life, right to liberty, right to own property, right to make a living, right to have a family, right to practice religion. That if by any means, if this government refuses to protect this their right, that they have the right to overthrow that government, according to him, according to John Locke. Government as a protector of rights. John Locke's political philosophy centers around the belief that the purpose of government is to protect the natural rights of individuals, particularly life, liberty, and property. Here is an overview of Locke's perspective on the purpose of government. 1. Protection of natural rights. Social contracts and consent. Legitimate authority. Limited government. Right to labor. Property as a fundamental right. Right to revolution. John Locke's theory of the right to revolution, as presented in 2 Treatises of Government, 1690, holds that citizens may overthrow a government if it violates their natural rights. Become tyrannical. Tyrannical here means when government exercise power when government exercise power through when government is unfair their way of governing is unfair or harsh to the people, that they have the sole right to overthrow them. Then, or breach the social contract if legal remedies are unavailable and the government acts against the public good. The people have a justified right to resist. This action must be a proportionate response based on community consensus and aim at establishing a new government that safeguards liberty and justice. Locke emphasized that revolution is not taken lightly, but is a legitimate defense of the people's fundamental rights and freedom. Critics and controversy. Why John Locke's political theory have been highly influential, they have also faced significant criticism. His idea of property through labor mixing has been challenged for justifying unequal land claims, particularly during colonial expansion. Critics argue that Locke's emphasis on property rights often overshadowed broader notions of equality. His support for limited government did not extend to all, as he excluded women, servants, and non-property owners from the social contract. Locke's writings have also been criticized for justifying colonialism, disregarding indigenous rights, and for his involvement in slavery. Additionally, his views on religion and normative assumptions of his time raised concerns about inclusivity and universality. Why John Locke promoted freedom and rights? Critics says that his idea is based on that his idea is inclusive, and he used some of them as a means of justifying colonialism. Talking of this inclusivity here, his support for is all about his support for limited governments that did not extend to all, as he exclude women, servants, and non-property owner from the social contract. Why? That's the question. Why did he exclude these people? He excluded them because, for him, he said that though the women, servants, and non-property owners are dependents, that they lack the autonomy for participating in, they lack the autonomy for political participation. Then conclusion. John Locke's concept of government as outlined in his major work, Treatises of Government, has left an incredible mark on political philosophy. His ideas on natural rights, the social contract, and the purpose of government as a protector of individual liberties have significantly influenced modern governance. While Locke's theory have faced critics and controversies, his enduring legacy persists in the foundation of liberal democracy, the recognition of human rights, and the ongoing discourse on the relationship between citizens and the state. Locke's intellectual contribution continues to shape our understanding of government and remain pertinent in contemporary discussions on political theory and practice. Ask your question. Any question?
Is this supposed to be a PowerPoint or what?
PowerPoint.
This thing is prepared. Is this supposed to be a PowerPoint?
Is this supposed to be?
Yes. Don't you see PowerPoint? Presentation PowerPoint is not about coloring. Sometimes the best PowerPoint is black and white. Because nobody reads, I don't think anybody is reading what you have done. Okay, so question about John Locke. Can I ask you a question? The presentation, question, okay.
I would like to ask about what is his main reason of supporting colonialization and slavery.
The main reason of John Locke supporting colonialism.
Yes.
Okay, answer.
And slavery.
They are the same.
Okay. For what he did, his main argument here, his main concept here is to fight for human rights. You know, protection of human rights, people being free, people being equal. So, talking about colonialism here, I think talking about colonialism here is, I think his work centered on it, because in our modern political democracy today, I think that's what we are practicing. This is his work, I think. Do you get what I say?
But you said something about him.
About
him, you say that he didn't condone, but he even participates in slavery.
Which slide is that?
The slide before.
John Locke, can you get there where you made it very clear?
Is he here?
Come back. No.
Yeah?
Yes. No. No, go forward. Go forward. Yes, wait. No, before this. Yes. Locke's writing have also been criticized for justifying colonialism, Israeli indigenous right, and for his involvement in slavery.
You know, I think this your question came from Locke's writing have also been criticized for justifying colonialism, right? Disregarding indigenous rights and for his involvement in slavery.
His involvement in slavery is when he participates in slavery.
Okay, his involvement in slavery here borders more on the reason why he excluded the women, the servants, and the
For the fact that you are
non-property owners
the simple reason
from having social contracts, because he said that they are dependent. They are not independent. They are still they are dependent. They are not independent. I think that's where they.
Okay, once again, let me comment here. I'm trying to be close because I don't have to speak. There is one thing I always emphasize, I always mention to the students. The greatest thing you can do is to deceive yourself, cheat on yourself, and think you're doing right. That is exactly, this is only connected with Africans, majority. And I keep emphasizing on that. We sit together, talk gossip, and talk irrelevant things sometimes. In my own view of thought, this is my own observation. But areas that we're supposed to talk and spend time, we don't. And that is it. And that is a problem. It's very easy, as I told you in the first class, to enter Thailand. Say you are here for studies and you do your BBA or other program in undergraduates and then rush to master's degree. But I bet you, in my own view as a teacher, those are useless. But what actually counts is your behavior, your character, and your sound and positive attitude towards life. Sometimes you can change it, sometimes you can modify it, sometimes you can work on it. How can you work on it? You can only work on it when you feed yourself away from what you know. Because most of us from Africa, we have, most of us, we tend to have come from a countries that are not law-oriented. Countries that we are not being told. I mean, we are told, but things are not working very well. But the question is that, when you now go to another country as a master's degree student, what schools will you then give again if you are not working on yourself? And how do you work on yourself if you don't read as whether undergraduate or master's degree program? Why I'm saying this is because most of you, when you come to present, it is very clear that most of you don't know the philosophy because you didn't read it very well. You didn't do thorough research. It's only when you read, you feed yourself, you begin to correct certain assumptions, or probably certain things that you're holding that are not globally accepted. Hello, are you guys there? So what I'm trying to say is that the question you're asking and the way he's battling with it, in my own view, I just concluded that maybe he didn't grasp the essence of John Locke. And most of you are like that. Once you come to present, either you go to the Google, you get something, or you get to already, or AI will do the PowerPoint for you, or you just copy, ask someone to do, you just read. But when a question is thrown, it becomes clear. Remember the first presenter? He was trying to teach us morality according to what he thinks is morality, not according to what Nicola Machiavelli considered morality to be, until I now came in. But you can only know that when you read the thing thoroughly very well. So back to the second presenter for today. You ask him about John Locke and connection with slavery and colonization. I don't think he has given enough, even battling to answer it shows that there's no thorough reading. But all these things are in YouTube. It's a question of one cheating himself. I'm talking to all of you, I'm not talking only to him. It's a question of one cheating himself that you want to get a master's degree and tomorrow you present that you have a master's degree. My dear fellow African, there are a lot out there. There is a lot, there are a lot as well.
We want to cheat against the system.
Is either we sit up or we just know we're deceiving ourselves, just know. But the problem is that when we hold that ground of illiteracy and end up fighting to know, there's a tendency that most of us that hold that ground, they tend to fight those who suffered, who struggled to know. At the end of the day, you're still battling somebody, either because he got a good job, or either because he's having a better, improved lifestyle. Then jealousy and envy will come. But you have the capacity also, but you chose otherwise. My dear brothers, if I tell you what I see when I read your independent studies for those who have graduated, it's horrible. It's unthinkable. Because as you sit in the classroom just costs load. The real master's degree comes when you present your paper and defend your arguments. Unfortunately for me, once it is written Africa or Nigeria, university will make me the supervisor. But I'm fighting. I have to sit up now. That shouldn't be done. Let another person take over. Because I've many of them, 11 of them, embarrassingly, experiencing that a lot of you have not even arrived in doing academic research. I'm not an expert in academic research, but at least to some extent, I know because I've read, because I'm still reading, I'm still learning. So why am I doing this? Just to bring back what I said from the first presenter. It's not all about coming here to present and maintain class and get A or B, C. At some point, fellow Africans, let us be sincere to our worldview. It's not all about money. It's not about because you have arrived. It's not about because you think you're having something else. But since you are spending the time to get a master's degree, there should be an education going on. What is the meaning of education? Just from Latin word, educare. To sieve out something from something. So if we are sitting here every time, all of us gather, it is expected we are sieving out something. So that the way you wear, I hope I'm getting the grammatical construction, the way you wear will not be the same way you will be. That is the education. Most of the time I see you guys, when you sit together, talk, analyze things, especially the one that, I wouldn't use the word pain, but the one that I often gives me concern, how we dismantle our leaders by talking. But when it has to do with simple submitting an assignment, you are worse than the leader. You have not done thorough work you're supposed to do, you as a person. To come and do presentation, you have not even studied the philosopher you are presenting in order to give us recommendation about that. As a master's degree student, that is lacking most of the time. Now, how am I sure that you'll be a better leader than those you are criticizing? I remember in my those days in Ohalu Seminary, Onisha, we were criticizing teacher every time. We bring one teacher and dismantle the teacher. Years came, we became the teacher. And do you know what? In my own reflective view, it appeared that our set was the worst. And yet we were the one criticizing the previous ones. Because the easiest thing to do is to analyze and criticize when you see somewhere. Probably, especially when your interest is affected. So what am I trying to say in NS? What I'm trying to say is that this second presenter, the same mistake with the first presenter. When you have a point, when you have something to present in any subject, please do it thoroughly. Make sure you go deep into. Imagine the question they will ask you, then be able to handle it. So the question they asked him, it wasn't clear enough. But in my own little summary, John Locke considered property, including slaves. So that's why people are criticizing him. If he loves democracy, equality so much, why is he not remembering and looking into the word he was calling property? Just like this is my property, and that is an African American. He wasn't considering that part, but he was just shallowly talking about property, considering that, yeah, this is my property, without looking at what you call a property. What you call a property is the colonialization. Those who brought in slavery, the people, human beings you call as a slave, and you consider them as a property. It's also in the Bible, I think. One of them, is this St. Paul? Forgotten the one. Say, women should not talk. When you want to talk, ask your husband. Yeah, this is biblical. If you want to talk, ask your husband. I don't know whether it's Timothy or Titus, I can't remember which particular one. And it's coming from this kind of background because you know all these philosophers, it is connected with Bible and the way the Bible was written. So it's important that you know that he meant property. He did not look into what the property is trying to defend because the property was defended includes slavery. including women who, as at the time, don't have the right to vote. Okay.
Okay, so what I want to say is that I understand exactly what you say, but as African, we come from very struggling environment.
Is that an excuse?
I'm not saying it's an excuse, I'm just trying to explain.
No, it's not. It can never be an
Like,
excuse.
right now, my fellow classmate, when I asked you a question, I could have asked the question that, okay, can you give me 2 or 3 books that someone was inspired by John Locke to write the book, to talk about this?
There are many of them. If you ask that
No,
question, I will tell you there are many of
I
them.
was just saying that it's example. I'm taking example just to find out.
So
if
go
he-
straight and then
yeah,
say what you want to say so that
yeah,
another person will
if
answer.
he is studying his subject.
Ah.
So actually, what I wanted to say is that it may come from our background. When you listen some quote intellectual African debating on TV in some countries in Africa, they don't care about right, wrong, good or bad, study or not. They care about what profit, what they can benefit. Even they see injustice, they know that it's wrong what the current government is doing.
Okay, then now, have you investigated? My point is that, have you done a research as a master's degree student to know the solution and why? Because you are still shifting blame, like most of us do, very easily. We do that. Have you investigated in the research to be a solution? You
Yes.
being a solution,
Yes.
without waiting for me or waiting for anybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you?
Is first the freedom, financial freedom.
Who brings financial freedom for you? Who bring it for you?
That's why we are here.
It's that what I'm saying. Who would then bring it for you by going to drug or going to scamming?
That's what, no, I mean that's why we are here, to study and to see any opportunity that we can do to have that financial stability. But even if we have it, when we go back home, we will face the government who has all the power.
Let us bamboozle with going back home because I don't want to believe in this defeatist mentality of an average African. Defeatist mentality. Yeah, we have it, we nurse it. I'm talking about here in your research as a master's degree student. What is the solution coming from you?
Just to know what we are doing and to focusing, concentrate in deep research and doing it with 100% focus.
For you.
Yes.
Okay, let's hope so. Okay, your own question. So what's the contribution about John Locke if you don't have a question? Do you understand the position of John Locke and leadership? What does John Locke, how does John Locke view leadership?
Well, everything you explained is something I've heard before about John Locke, and I like the fact that he was criticized for his, say, or contributions on slavery and all of that.
Then what do you criticize him for, or what do you get from that as you?
I feel like even today, some people have that mentality and use it for their own leadership skills, and it helps as well. What I take out of it is that equality is something that we are still far from, which will continue working towards.
Equality is what we are far from. You, is it far from you? If I'm talking about what were we getting from the class. Exactly the way you guys manipulate questions is exactly what I say in independent studies. Critical analysis of a point. You must start learning it because it's becoming glittering. It's unacceptable. When you're a master's degree student, you view things critically. Not just from an emotional point of view or whatever. Maybe you don't have the luck, you have not paid for the month rent. Or maybe your visa is about to expire and you don't have school fees to pay. Come on. You guys call me professor every time I use myself as an example. If you go through what I went through in this country, you just run away. There was a time in this very country I went to where Africans are eating, and some people, when they finish eating the food, I just, instead of being there to throw it away, I take it and eat. because I don't have money to do anything in this country. And I moved on, I continued. I'm looking for solution for my world, for myself. Today I'm being jealous and envied left and right with stories and that bullshit around. Of course I'm human, but the point is that you are sitting here listening to me and calling me prof. I want all of you for me to be there and you'll be here because you can as well. So this is the challenge that I personally think is very, very important. What can you, as a person, add to African worldview? Instead of every time criticism and criticizing, and instead of every time finding faults. Because it's becoming our albatross. We call it albatross. Becoming a big problem in our system. No solution. Every time. There's always a reason to criticize the person around. Needless to think about the person is a leader or not. There's always a reason. Excuse me. Are you getting the point?
Yes, sir.
So the problem is not about equality, but the problem by you. How do you see that? How do you implement that? Because I'm getting to see that most of you in master's degree don't even know why you're here and don't even know what you're here for. Yes, you're here for the visa to be doing other business, but you've already decided to enter constructively to do something good for your life. But the problem is that this is the final semester for almost all of you except you. Then I won't say except you because I've gotten one master's degree already. So what for all this nonsense? Just because you're thinking today is better off. And then if today is better off and you're using student visa to be doing other things you're doing and sending little money home or taking care of your come on, is that life?
Sir,
There should be more than that. There's more future than that.
So, sir, what is your...
That's what I'm saying. The main thing is that when we're in the class, to start with being a student, being a serious one, being well read, read newspaper all the time, get yourself educated so that we'll start lamenting. We stop lamenting. Because we do lament a lot, and then when we think there's a solution, the person not even providing solution. His life is not solution. My life is not solution. Then why are we lamenting all the time? You will have to present a philosopher, then do a thorough work as a master's degree. I gave you guys an exam the other day. I just saw the way you guys were answering an exam. Master's degree. Does it need Podia to write it correctly? Or does it need Tinubu to come and write it correctly? Or one of the ministers who are criticizing? Come on, give me a break. What is the solution? And the solution is in me, and the solution is in you. That is my point. The solution is not in that person. But the problem is that we leave us as a solution every time. That is why I don't know why nature has a way of playing back. You say, I'm pointing at Dixon. You see that? You see, one hand is pointing at, imagine I'm pointing one, but three is already pointing at me. Nature has answered to almost everything. And so that is how the world we have lived. Every time, tendency to criticize one leader or the other as African. And that is coming from parental upbringing too, because I criticize my mom, I criticize my dad, I criticize my senior brothers and sisters. Then why shouldn't I criticize people in Thailand? We just carry all these baggages. We're moving everywhere. It's not a question of Thailand. Even if you go to the US, even if you go to Europe, it's the same. Because we have not been able to challenge ourselves to do the needful. And what is the needful? I'm challenging you here. That you're a master's degree student, I expect to see more critical analysis of issues. But it's rare to see it. I think in this class, there's only 2 students that often come up and then handle matters like master's degree students. And those 2 students are Dixon and Chelsea. The way they try to present things, the way they come up with something, you know they are challenging students. The rest of the students I just pray you don't meet anybody you argue with in terms of an academic, because you mess yourself up. Hello?
No, sir. I think we have to know the topic, the subject. We have to, as you say, we have to deeply understand.
The point that is, the knowledge is there. YouTube is everywhere in any topic you want. Google is in everywhere in every topic. Just understand that topic first, Because when you now begin to understand, you are educating your mind, then you begin to understand certain things because you're no longer in your conclave of your village. You are no longer in the conclave of your village, you are now in another country. And that is why most of us move from our village to the city, from city to abroad. And we keep on breaking the rules of those people, expecting. The worst I often hear is that when you break the rule, you expect the embassy to come and help. That's the worst most of us do.
For those who doesn't have embassy like us.
And you think there is a solution. I mean, even amongst, I said, the business, including me, I've done business with so many people, so many problems. From me, most of them my fault. Sometimes their fault. This is not the embassy will do for you. This is not anybody can do for you. We should be able to, first of all, challenge ourselves, stop deceiving ourselves all the time. When we gather, we talk, we think there is a solution. Whenever we gather to talk, everything is so wonderful. But do business with that person for 1 week, or even have any issue, serious issue with that person, then you change your mind. So
Someone
these are
said
the.
that to
So
call
this is
somebody
my.
friend, you have to fight with him first.
Pardon?
I said someone said that to call someone a friend, that he's my friend, you have to fight with him first.
But that's the human nature. It depends on the reason for fighting. Okay, now back to this thing. Any question for the presenter?
Yes, it's not really a question, but in my own observation, or my own takeaway why he was presenting, some government that, why is it not shaking?
No, because the other one is open. That bigger one. Yeah, it's open.
Are you okay?
Why not? I'm okay.
Answer my question.
But maybe this class, you ask question, is a whole class thing. So, sir, I was saying, part of the thing I actually think maybe part of the takeaway during his presentation, he mentioned that John Locke is of the view that there are certain things that are responsibility of the government. Then the point is also of the view that if the government has failed to meet up to that responsibility, that the people, the government, have the rights to revolt. And then I think that's a good takeaway in a proper democracy or constitutional government.
Okay, that what you are taking away is that John Locke has it that when you establish a government and the government is not doing very well, you have the right to to remove the government.
Yes.
Of course, John Locke is the modern day democracy icon. But the question remains, if you apply it in Africa, how many of us in Africa are well informed and well educated to know when the government is doing the wrong thing and the right thing, and not based on tribe or based on ethnicism or the way we normally fight in our own? That is the issue. How are we well educated to know when we should allow the government to get out of this place? Because sometimes in African countries and Asian countries as well, governments might be correct, but because the opposition may have given the poor people money, they might use the money to influence the poor people to come and protest, while the policy the government are trying to implement is the rightful one. So how do we handle it? In connection to this, to get the content of those who will get the government out. How do we know whether it's a good content?
Well, first of all, is that I'm not a defender of Africa, but we are all from Africa. It's not the time today in the past. John Locke's writing has a more global view, and then it is not just Sri Lanka. Other countries of the world have even the greatest of the United States of America. There's no perfect leadership that cited anywhere. But generally, is that in a good government, practicing democracy or something like that, while the leaders have the rights, while the governments have the right, the government also have their own rights. The problem is that we are all human. Human philosophy will now have to tell that there's reality and there's idea. So the ideal thing is that government should operate in a straight line. And then the ideal thing is that the government should also assess the government in a straight line. But in reality, it's not that. That is what it is, both outside and inside. Even right here in the country where we are, in this continent, and back all over the world in reference. That's how I want to see it. It's a global thing.
Yeah, it's a global thing, so to say, but education, Western education is not other global to many people, especially Asians and Africans. And they are in Middle East as well. Democracy is a global thing in the sense that we are being colonized in the mind and globalized. But we have to understand that both in the Middle East, their concept of leadership is different. It doesn't necessarily follow democracy. Then in some part of Asia and mostly Africa, the democracy will follow. That's why we rarely grow, because democracy we follow is imported democracy, different from what may have worked for us. That is why we are battling with it, because when you talk about democracy, you talk about constitution, and the constitution most of us use in Africa is mostly against our culture. You see why sometimes African case is something else. Because if you want to stand on a particular standard, that standard should be a constitution. But that constitution, for example, the issue of a woman in womanhood in Igbo land, our forefathers have theirs. But Supreme Court of Nigeria has its own. You see the crash. The same is applicable to family unit. The same is applicable to marriage. So these are the imported kind of lifestyle or positions or policies or legal tenets that once you put it there, whether you like it or not, is destabilizing this system. And that is why it's something to be looked into. If it is not looked into, we keep in this ring marolling and then killing ourselves and dying on a daily basis. Because the reason for killing is coming from cultural and traditional, crashing with global, presumed civilized way of doing things. So that's why sometimes the issue of all this issue relating to Africa is something that we cannot deny. It's there, it's a reality. And that is why also, because I guess in African, pre-colonial African way, the way we teach our children is not the way Western education teach. Look at how you and I are sitting here now, studying all this. After that, we are expected to write independent studies. And with that independent studies, you're expected to quote. And who are you quoting? Mostly primary sources. And primary sources are Western people. You see? And sometimes there are things you quote and you know that doesn't work for you in your culture. So there is a clash between this global sentiment and the so-called African way of life. So it will continue to crash. I don't know the solution anyway. But the fact that it will continue to crash. And that entered into education. Because the way education was imposed in us, probably that's why most of us are not educated. Probably most of us, when primary school, could not go to school, they go outside the country to look for a better living. And that better living might be illegal way of making things, blah, 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 making the money through there. Okay, you become a share one of the. At the end of the day, they still crash. Because the foundation in us is not well grounded. Because if you get back there, even if you import goods, there are rules government may have put in place. And the government themselves are not also doing certain things in the way it should be. So it's very complete. It's a complex thing. It goes back to the same question. How do we know the content of people who can now say that government is not doing well and then vote them out? When the basic knowledge is not there, because in the Western world, like the education they planted, or they start from kindergarten to make you to understand the concept of nationalism, to make you understand that your mom and dad are just keeping you for them, because they pay your mom and dad for training you. Are you guys getting the connection?
Yes, sir.
And that's how they do it over there. Once you get a baby, the government comes in, they pay you for, and then give the baby one kind of education or phone. If your mom is not treating you very well, just call this line. That's why a child of 4 years or 5 years can sue the parents. You see, it's a complicated kind of a thing that the only solution is go back to your own system and then use it and then know how you can tailor it with the modern system. But in our own, we are imposed and we are still suffering until today. And that's why sometimes in our system, sometimes we tend to think someone with master's degree is more learned, more educated than someone without a degree. Because education is not paper. We are just getting the Western ideology. We are not learning anything. And when we get back to Africa, confusion all over.
So, I take example in my country.
Mm-hmm.
The current president is there for more than 40 years. He went to 45 years.
Because it's considered that most of you are morons now.
Yes, but it's not that we didn't do the revolution or we didn't strike.
Mm.
We did strike many times. Even when he just took the power, the same year there was a war, a civil war, because the old one wanted to come back. So it wasn't easy. The problem is that, not the problem, the cause, if I can say the cause, is that white or French people that have colonialized the country are still in charge. They're helping him to stay there.
But are you aware that it's not possible for a foreign country to do anything in your country without your people?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who are dealing with them, they are okay, they don't have any problem.
Mm-hmm. That's where the problem is. Because if everybody, just like the question there, now come and sit the government, get the government out of the place. If everybody wants it, the government will have to pray. But the problem is that maybe 40% are comfortable and they are not part of it.
Less than 40%.
Uh-huh.
People try. I won't lie, people try. But they disappear.
Mm-hmm. Who disappeared them?
The government.
The government are also your people.
I mean, when I say the people,
yeah, because you can.
Our people is the government. The government.
Yeah, exactly. You try to see the French people to do that. Now listen, for me to be dealt with, it needs a Nigerian. It needs someone that looks like me to deal with me.
Of course.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. So it's very easy to say government. Don't forget, government is also part of you, your people, your country, where you are. So no matter how most of you try, probably 40% are still feeling comfortable. So the problem is not 40%. Why 60% are crying? They don't care. And they try to justify this by putting the kind of educational system that will not make you to learn, will not make you to know, just like you're here suffering to support your education. In my class, I had a German student and a Finnish student. They were all there being paid by their government. But all Nigerian students in that class, they were struggling to make a living, to pay school fees. And then imagine the dichotomy, the difference is very clear, because you have to struggle to pay your rent, to struggle to extend your visa, struggle to pay your school fees. While you are struggling to eat, while your fellow student from another country is even seeing his alert from his own government dropping. You see how they held us. And they held us in such a way that let's go back to what I'm saying about solution. They held us in that way, in such a way that we grew up being selfish, self-centered. That even if I have it, I may not share it with you that is also struggling. You are also struggling, so I will not share it with you. Even you that are crying and expecting government to do this, if you have it, it's possible you will not share it with me too. What's the problem? It's better now so that I can get sleep. You are getting too far.
So,
Hit him. Hit him.
I think you have concluded, but I was going to come make a contribution. Leadership and governance class is just the advanced class for government that some of us will continue to attend the classes in our O-level days. So, in government, when you are introduced to the subject, after the introduction, you go step by step or upwards. Go to type of government, you talk about the characteristics and features, then they also get to they also talk about the advantages and disadvantages. So like I was trying to talk about lines, straight line. No matter the government, they all have advantage and they have disadvantages. So either side can affect any country depending on how it is being read. Whether Africa or the world at large. So for everywhere we go, that's why when some people, when in academic writing, they want to always put in a case study of when you streamline the case study to a particular place, you see that there are yardstick, there are factors that are still, and then more, there are factors, there are propellers, there are things that affects the government in one way or the other. So it's not like a general outlook because Africa has the name Africa. Have a colonial story to tell. But Asia have their own story to tell. No, it is the story of those governments as it happens in reality in the place, considering the advantages and disadvantages of even our unpopular democracy itself or military rule itself, irrespective of who is there, whether it is the perfect Traore that is here or it is one other perfect Democrats in another country that practices democracy. But some of these advantages and disadvantages are there to play out depending on the reality, on factors that are traceable to both the leader and the led. So thank you.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. That's a wonderful contribution. Any other person? Any other contribution? You were absent in this presentation. That's number 5. Any
I was
other?
not absent, though. I was.
Any other question? Or do we leave? Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Xavier, for your presentation. John Locke. I suggest next time you do PowerPoint, make a PowerPoint that is very simple and straight to the point. Your PowerPoint is which grammar will I use? Cloudy. Is it cloudy?
Too much information.
Yeah, wordy. Yeah, wordy. That is not the way PowerPoint should be done. Okay, thank you very much.